So Superfish have done it again. This is the Start 150. So this is one of the cheapest sort of entry-level all-in-one kits you can get. For that reason, it's obviously almost the most popular, which is brilliant because it means more people are deciding to get into the hobby and give it a go. Now, the good thing is the kit comes in a range of sizes. I think this is the biggest one, but there's like a smaller one and then a smaller one again. So you can get whatever one you want to fit like the size of space you've got available. The size of space you've got available, you know what I mean. English is supposedly my first language, but you wouldn't guess it. Now with this kit, you've literally got absolutely everything. You've got the tank lid, you've got a light as well, you've got an internal filter, you've got some bacteria, tap water safer, we've got a thermometer, a net, we've got some food, and we've got a heater. Literally everything in one. Now because it comes in like 4 or 5, I think, different sizes, you can get one that suits exactly your budget. So this is the biggest one, obviously the most expensive, but still for what you're getting, it's very, very cheap. 146 litres to be precise is the size of this tank. You can get it in white or you can get it in black. This is the black one. I just felt like I wanted to get something that everyone's going to be getting and try and scape it in a way that they can do it as well. Now, is it going to be possible to make a proper aquascape tank? You know what I mean? Like that beautiful classic look with lots of beautiful plants, open sort of sand substrate foreground. Is it going to be possible to be able to do that in this tank? Is the lighting going to be bright enough? Is the filtration going to be adequate? I mean, you guys know me, I don't even think you need a filter at all with most planted tanks, but I know a lot of you will want one, so that's what we're doing. I guess what I'm saying is, can you get the proper budget starter kit and make it look as good potentially as what they've done on the box? There's only one way to find out. So the tank is quite big. Where's it going to go? Well, I'm thinking around here. Obviously, we've got Timmy's old tank, but Timmy is now over in his new tank. You can actually just see him in the front there moving along. So this tank's not needed. I can break that down. I can move the little thingy, the Kallax thing it's on, get that out of the way. This actual stand I made here ages ago is perfect size for that new tank. So I think we'll use that. And then we've also got all the electrics that we need underneath as well. So the first thing we want to do is get this unboxed. And to do that, I'm just going to cut it right down the front. I just find it so much easier to do it like this. Voila. Oh, the lid feels a lot more sturdy than I was expecting, to be honest. So we've got our filter, we've got a heater. I won't actually need the heater because I heat the room, but it's good to know you guys will get it. And then all our other bits and bobs as well. Instructions, we don't need them. And now just lift it across. Oh, it's decent weight. And we all know what weight means. Weight means quality, right? Oh, and we've got the retro LED bright inside. It's attached to the lid though, guys, so I'm not gonna be able to escape with the lid on, so I'm gonna have to just put another light on to start with. Oh no, it's one of those annoying stickers that doesn't come off very well. Nothing a quick razor blade won't fix. So yeah, just a cheap sort of budget light on the top now, just so we can do the build. I'm looking at it now though, and I'm thinking, do I want to do a black background on it? And I think I do. I'm not entirely sure. I think we'll just get a lot more pop with all the colors, the fish and everything if I can attach a black background. So in this here, I've got a load of like black window tint. I did originally black out those windows up there because I thought they were just a bit too bright. But when I did that, it just made the whole room a lot darker and I didn't want it, so I just took them off. We've got loads left over. This is the sort of stuff you can put on car windows as well. It's very cheap. You can just do a search and you'll find a company that does it. It's not expensive at all and it does a really good job. Now to attach the background, well, we want to clean it first actually, hang on. So that's got any surface residue off. Next thing, soapy water. Oh no, are we working? Oh, that'll do, there we go. Spray the whole background. You can't use too much of this, so just get it on. And then we can just attach the black film to that with the sticky side facing out to us. Oh, I've gone a bit wrong there, hang on. Okay, so now I can peel off the protective covering and the stickiness is facing me this side. I can spray that down again with the solution, spin it round. The reason you do it like this is just so it doesn't fold in on itself and get bad. It's all stuck there whilst you peel off the film. Spin it round, stick it on, press out all of the water and bubbles. There we go, so that's the protective film off. Now this whole side is just stickiness like facing me right now. Spray it down. Again, you can't use too much. It'll all come out anyway. Make sure you cover everything. And now I can peel that off and spin it around. There we go. And now it's all lubricated, so it can actually slide around a bit as well, you know, so in case you don't line it up absolutely perfectly. Bit of a gap at the bottom there, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to see that at all. There's going to be sand, substrate, plants, everything in there. But now squeegee it out. So yeah, squeegee center outwards, just like that. And as soon as you've done that, it's pretty much stuck straight away. And then I just go over again with one sort of forceful push, and you can see it pushes out even more of the smaller bubbles. Really need to make this table a bit more less rocky as well, don't I? The floor's not very level here, so put a little wedge under one side. And there we go, we're ready to go. Don't worry, you won't see the reflections. I'll put a black screen behind me. But yeah, tidy little finish. Looks like a nice little setup. Just remembered actually, I've got a much better light to be able to do the build with, and it is this one down here. It's the Superfish Scaper 93, so it's like for a 90 centimeter tank, so that will work perfectly. Really good color rendition as well. I basically used the Superfish light on all of my favorite tanks. So this is the rainbow sort of river tank that I've got going on here. 2 Superfish lights on top. This one here is the 200 neon Tetra tank. Again, 2 on top of this one. I mean, look at the plants and that, it's crazy. There we go, much nicer. Now we can start. We can start the start. The start tank. Do you get it? Oh, I'm wasted on you guys. So here is the tank with the lid on. Now it's got one LED strip that comes as standard, which will grow sort of Anubias and Java fern, that kind of thing, sort of easy growing plants. It doesn't look like a lot at the moment because obviously there's nothing in there, but you can see there's a good amount of light hitting my hand there. But the good thing about this one is if you want to upgrade it, you can, because there is a second slot in here. Now, if you want to grow really luscious big plants, I do recommend you do that. So, you know, a slight upgrade straight away if you want. You can still do it with this one though, for sure. I've got plenty of tanks that just grow plants with barely any light, to be honest. So here is the other light, already supplied for me. UK plug. Oops, I think I just broke it. Something else at the bottom here. Ah, so the fittings, and it's got those weird things if you need those, which we don't. Then we just slot it in, clips in place. Nice. Okay, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but the new one's got red, blue and white LEDs, and the back one is all white LEDs. Flip it round, and there we have it. That is more than enough light in there to grow any plants, to be honest, even with this good amount of depth. So yeah, if you want to grow tons and tons of plants, you know, kind of like what we've got going on here, I definitely recommend the second LED strip. If you want to just do a basic setup with Java ferns and Anubias, that kind of thing, then yeah, the one light will be fine as well. It depends what you want to go for really, but for a planted tank, I'd definitely go with the 2. But whilst we're building, I'm going to go with the Scaper light. Again, another optional upgrade if you wanted to at a later date. You know, these actually are really, really good value for money as well. They look stylish. So yeah, just something to think about. You've got options. You've got plenty of options to suit your budget really, haven't you? And your skill level. As you get better, if this is your first tank, I mean, it is a start, you might want to start upgrading as everything starts getting good. And this will be a brilliant upgrade for you, no doubt about that. Not essential, but yeah, really nice. First things first, plants are nothing without a nutrient layer for their root system. It's the key to any planted tank, to be honest. So first thing I'm sticking in is aquatic compost. Always use it. I've used it in all the tanks around the studio. Works so well. You can use aqua soil as well. It's more expensive, but it does work just as well. I've done other tanks and other people's places. If I had some, I'd probably use it, but I'm going to use the aquatic compost with some root tabs all in it as well, then cap over the top. And I've actually got just the right amount left in this bag. Just breaking up any of the bigger clumps. There's a couple in there, but they break up really easy, look. There's bits of gravel and stuff in it, the odd tiny bit of, I don't even know what that is, but that's coming out. And we want to push the whole thing further towards the back. I don't want it coming in the foreground because it'll spoil the effect that I'm going to be going for. There we go. So the nutrients in this stuff seems to last between like 9 months and a year. Aquasor seems to last a little bit longer, so it is probably worth more of an investment. But for me, I just really like using it. I'm gonna bump it up with root tabs as well, of course. But this whole thing needs to be locked down. Now, if you just fill this up with water now, your whole tank will just be so dirty. So yeah, definitely needs that capping layer, a good amount as well. Like you want a good chunky section to be able to put those plants into, and then the roots of the plants go down and grow and find this layer. Now you can just cap straight away with regular sand. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm gonna add this stuff in. It's the Colombo Mano base. It's the black variety, even though it's not black, it's kind of gray and little flecks of other stuff in. Real natural looking. It's not gonna be the top layer, but I'm gonna use it. It's really good stuff. It's basically crushed lava rock, so you get extra nutrients in it, and it also can harbor a ton of beneficial bacteria for extra filtration. And then just scrape away the little bit in the foreground, because that's where I want the decorative sand to go. Be nice to just see that only. Bit of soil come up, just push that back in. Not gonna hurt. And now I've got some white sand to go over the whole lot. Again, this is not the final layer. It's just to sort of bulk it up for planting. Yeah, you should always try not to do what I just did. I'll tell you what, it shows how durable the lights are, doesn't it? I'm so clumsy. Yeah, so white on top. Now sand in a planting tank just works so well. Any waste from the fish works its way down into it, gets locked in, as well as all that nutrients we've got underneath as well. And it just works so well for adding more nutrients for those plant roots, because when you've got a heavily planted tank, you'll be surprised just how fast it uses nutrients. So that right there is a solid base to start with. Come around to the side, look, you can see, oh no you can't, hang on. There we go, you can see we've got 3 inches at the back, we've got 2 in the middle, and about 1 inch at the front, but there's not going to be lots of planting in the front, so that's fine. And now we can start to build up our rock layer where I actually want to put the wood that we've got on. I've got some cool wood. So I've actually had these pieces here for quite a while, and I think they're going to look really cool and give us that sort of foresty vibe. Now we want them to sit quite high up though, so they're going closer to the surface, and to do that we've got all these rocks down here to choose from. I'm going for a Siriu or a grey river as well, a bit of mix and match. I don't think it hurts to do that. Some people like to just stick with one type of rock. That's fair enough, but you know, unless you've got piles and piles of it, which I don't right now, then I can't. I suppose I could do dragonstone. Yeah, that's an idea. Maybe, I don't know, because the dragonstone looks a lot like the same tone as this wood. The wood will go darker, but it'll take quite a while. I'm going to go with the Sirius stone for this one. I'm going to use the dragonstone in a future project for sure. So composition wise, I want to do something like this. Oh, they come up nice and high already actually, which means we don't have to build loads of rock. So I want one like there, one over this side. I might have to cut off that big piece of wood there, not at that angle, and then one more centralized that comes up a bit higher than the rest, but not too high because obviously the lights are there. I think that will work well. This one will be slanted slightly outwards, and then this one will follow the same line as this one. That should work. I mean, even that looks cool, doesn't it? But yeah, rocks first though. So we want like 3 potential islands. So I'm going to go over a piece over here, a flatter piece in the central part because it didn't need a lot of height at all, and then one more over here for the last island. There'll be more added to this. I'm just trying to figure out that that's too central. Look, dead in the center. We don't want that. Maybe we should have it across a little bit more over there. And then we can put some of the wood in. So I've taken off that corner piece from there, which is kind of allowing me to do something with it, but the rock isn't really helping me. I want it to be in the corner. It's got to be in that corner over there. That'll do for a minute. I'll tidy up all these areas. Oh, there's a staple in there. Get that off. And then the piece on this side can be quite hard to get it right. Then that taller middle piece. Okay, that one's working. I need to fiddle around with it though. They're all very symmetrical in the straight lines and stuff, and I don't think that works as well at the moment, so I'll adjust everything and then show you what I've done. So I've got this one looking pretty good. This one will go good, but the one on this side had too much stuff on the bottom. Yeah, all of this like nubbly bit here is just stopping it sitting. I need it to sit right on this large piece, but these are in the way. So I've got this thing, never used it. It's time to crack it out. Well, I don't know why I haven't used that before, because that was brilliant. And now it should sit a bit better.
Yeah, that's miles better than it was. I can actually angle it how I want as well then. A couple of bits here that can snap off. There we go. So I'm liking that. I'm liking how that looks there, but I just want to bring this one forwards a bit so you've got more of a sort of, is it concave composition? And then this one out a little bit as well. So that one's right at the back. It'll give us some more depth, like illusion of depth anyway. Oh yeah, I think that's nailed it. Bring the light forward a bit. Like I've still got plenty of room to plant behind all of these sort of pieces of wood as well. Even the middle one, there's some space back there. We've got loads of room in this foreground area for some nice plants as well. And here it is with the proper lighting and the hood. I think now that I've got the lid on, I think I would like to bring this up a bit, just because these ends are just quite sort of in your face versus the other ones which are reaching near the surface. So I'm going to build that up with a bit more rock and just have a sort of higher area one there. There we go, brought it up a lot higher and sort of kept it in line with that one. And then this one's going the opposite, just to give it a little bit more interest. But yeah, liking that, great start. Now this stuff is brand new wood, it's definitely gonna float, so I need to glue it all down. And for that, I've got the trusty cyanoacrylate super glue gel. There we go, Superfish stuff. Got a whole pot of these. And I'm probably gonna need a good amount for this one because there's not that many contact points. So where I have got pieces touching the wood, I'll make sure I do a good dollop, sprinkle some sand on top or something like that, and you won't even see the glue then at all.
Right, that is looking great. What we need to do, it's all stuck by the way, everything's locked. It's actually the next day. I just wanted to make sure that was all locked down because that'd be a right pain if it all got loose. But we now need to add in just tons more detail, build on it, more of these rocks, like sort of try and find pieces that fit in underneath nicely, close the gaps a little bit, and then detail stones and things like that as well. So it's gonna be like smaller rocks now that just slot in wherever we can find them. I think that's a good bit there. So you can see like the wood creeping in over the top, yeah, like that. Just keep going. Oh, nice, I'm loving that. So we've still got that concave sort of look to it, but we've got lots in the foreground. And the reason I've done that is because I want to keep this root sort of theme going and bring some of the bits I've cut off and some other little bits I've got dotted around and just sort of glue them creeping all over these rocks in the foreground. I think that should look great. But before I do that, I just want to tie it all in nicely with the decorative sand and the detail stones and that kind of thing. So what I've got here is just like a sand and gravel mix that I've sort of saved from lots of my other tanks. Just going to fill in lots of the gaps with it. We'll just tie everything in nicely. I've got another thicker stone to go on top of this that will just transition a lot better because that's quite contrasty at the moment, which can work quite well to be fair, but not something I really want to do in this instance. Just sprinkle it all around, let it fall where it wants to, as always. Don't really like that bit at the front there that's bunched up a little bit. Okay, it doesn't look great at the moment, I know that, because it looks so different. We're going to tie it all in now with some other stones. Here we go, I've got these sort of grey pebbles, and that should work lovely. I'm just going for tons of detail. That's going to be the idea in this foreground area. See, already that just transforms it, ties it all in. Like, looks really good. A little bit more though, I've got another stone that's just somewhere between those two colour tones, and there's finer grain in that last lot. That should tie it in. Looking good, really liking that. So now I want to put the pieces of root that sort of, like, you've got to find pieces that follow the contours of the wood that you're putting it on, or make it fit the contour, glue them in place, and it should transform that front area a little bit. But because of the concave composition, I want it all coming into a central point, not like perfectly, but that sort of style. And obviously try and avoid what I've done there like that. So this would be better served if I take that piece and sort of hide it into the rock a little bit, like that, so you can't see the flat edge. And then when you've got some plants or something on that area, you won't see it at all. And then it's just a case of keep doing that and then gluing it all down in place. There we go. So we've basically got that root system now just sort of creeping into everything. It looks like it's been there for years and years and years. Loving that, loads of detail. You can't really go wrong from this point, can you, in my opinion? Like, if you can get this bit right, which I've managed to do, I've spent a lot of time on this, and if you get this bit right, the next bit's just easy. Plonk some plants in, they're gonna look good. But first of all, before the plants, there's quite a sort of drop off at the back. I'm gonna build that area up with some just sort of like mix of aqua soil and sand and some old stuff that I've got. Might as well reuse it, build that up a bit. I'll cap it a little as well, and then we're ready to put the plants in. And there we go, everyone. And we are now ready for planting. Come around to the side so you can see even more. So I added some more of that sort of nutrients bulking up layer there, and then I capped it all on top of gravel. Each corner as well has got extra pile of gravel, so it's like an inch thick gravel there. The reason I do that is that when you want to fill the tank up after water changes or anything, all I've got to do is slot the hose in this section, it'll trickle down and won't disturb anything else. I always try to do that as much as possible now, if possible, in any of my new aquascapes. It just means, you know, filling up, you just chuck it in, don't have to worry about it, it's not going to disturb any of the nutrients underneath, and you're all good. Anyway, let's get planted. So I always like to start with something quite big in the tank, so I'm going with bulbitis there, obviously. Keep it low down, I find it works better in low down situations or positions. Now I've prepared some more plants here. We've got Microsorum terapus greens. All my plants, by the way, are from Aquafleur, and they are absolutely amazing. So we've also got some Monte Carlo tufts here. I mean, look at the vibrancy of this. They look so good, don't they? These are quite big, I might break them down a little bit, but I'll just see how they look first in the tank. Yeah, one piece was too big there, but I can get a smaller piece and lodge it in. Try and get it to sort of sit upright because it just looks more natural. And then another piece just behind it. The good thing about this wood is that there's loads of points where the Java fern can stick in and attach. And then the same on this piece as well. I want to keep it sort of, you know, uniform on each island. I think that works best. That's actually too far forward though. Take that out. Go to that back section. So there we go, we've got 3 nice big pops and focal points before we've even began really. So it already looks good, and now we just build on that. I want to bring some green into the foreground, so I'm going to be adding the Monte Carlo in there in tufts. Looking good so far. So the S Repens just adds a little variation in texture, but we want some different colors as well. So I'm going to go for some Crypt Albida, which is like a small leafed crypt. More of a sort of browny color, and I think it will just tie in that forest floor quite nicely. Oh, we're looking so good. Now you could of course use loads of mosses in this tank, but for me, if it was just my only tank, I'd absolutely do that. But because I've got so many, I just don't add mosses in my tanks because it takes over so fast. Because when you trim it, you need to vacuum out as you trim, or it gets blown around and lodged everywhere. And before you know it, the whole front is just moss. So for me, I just leave it out, but it's a really good option. It does add a really authentic sort of forest floor look as well. But at the moment, I'm loving how we can see all the wood and the details still, because the plants aren't overtaking that foreground area, they're adding to it. But now I want to fill the tank up to put in my stems. I always do that. I just find it's way easier to plant exactly where you want them. I'm going to put the filter in as well to make sure that we've got enough space, and then it'll just be filled up. So here we go, here is the filter, the Aquaflow XL. Let's get it out. Instructions, spray bar. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. 4 suctions on the back, nice. Directional flow, flow rate. Okay, that comes off like that. We've got media in there, that's in a bag, so I need to take that out. So the back comes off, 2 sponges, yeah, ideal. So we're gonna have mechanical and biological filtration. And I'm going to put it in this back corner here because it's got the most sort of space. He says hitting all the wood. I want it right in the corner, and then I can bring some stems in front of it. Looking pretty good. Now if I want to add another fern, I can there, and that'll pretty much completely hide it. Yeah, I think I will. I'll just stick another fern in that top section. So I've got a nice piece of trident fern,
which I'm thinking will go quite nicely. Try and get it right into the middle, then that will keep it completely upright. So I'm putting it inside, and then I'm going to flick it either side of these branches as well. There's a nice little bit of Hydrocockle Japan in there too. Oh, that's going to look great when the water's in there. And don't forget to spray everything down as well, because it's getting quite dry actually, because we're taking our time with this. Just want to get it right. Oh, I tell you what it does need quickly, some Anubias on that sort of rock edge. If you do that, it ties in with the stems a lot better than just having rock then stems. I find so anyway. I'm just going to glue on some pieces of Anubias just in those sort of areas. Right, now we can fill her up. There we go, we're filled up, we're looking fantastic. Slight haze to the water obviously. I think that's just where, originally I started filling from the back, and it was actually, because it's so sloped, it pulled everything sort of through the gravel and then sort of come up in the water column, but that will clear very quickly once we get the filter on, which we can switch on now. And there she blows. So really good flow rate actually, look at the surface agitation we're getting. For the fish we're going to be putting in, that will be probably too fast. Well, it depends once the stems are in there. We'll slow it down a bit though, to be honest. Now speaking of stems, it's time to get them in. So for my stems, I'm going to go around the tanks that need a stem trimming like this one. The reds are hitting the surface already. It wasn't that long ago I trimmed it, but yeah, use a lot of those. I've got loads in this tank as well. This is the no filter tank with the Royal Acaras and the electric blues. But you can see, look, all the stems in the background have hit the surface. We've got loads to pick from. We've got some really nice limnophilia in this tank where the Betta fish currently are. Loads of really tall reds in this one. This one is a good hackback, so we're going to harvest a lot of those. And I haven't had it for a long time, but I really want to put in some pearlweed. If you guys want to grow a plant fast that looks great, luscious and green and sucks up nutrients, that's the one I suggest you buy, as well as the limnophilia as well. Those two plants are just so good for beginners. So first up, I've got some Ludwigia granulose. Look at how beautiful this plant is. I want this to be sort of a main feature in that background area, so I'm going to plant those first. Oh, look at that. And then for even more pop, I want to add in some Ludwigia palustra super red in the sort of lower areas, and that's just going to look so good. Those real red pops in that middle section, once it's not so dusty, it will look even better. I think that's looking amazing so far. I made sure to get some extra long pieces of the Ludwigia granulose just to peek above the top there. Look at that one. This one was growing close to the light, so it's like extra vibrant. It's going to look so good once it clears. But now we need the very background plants. So they're sort of mid-ground Ludwigia, and then I want some greens behind it. It's going to really help with water quality and hiding spaces for the fish as well. So that is now all of our stems in as well. I'm so happy with how this has turned out. Don't worry, if you're looking at this thinking, well, how on earth can I do that? I don't have that many plants, I can't afford that many plants. I mean, maybe you can, but yeah, don't get too sort of like put off by that idea. Obviously, I'm a YouTuber and I want to have that finished result sort of straight away, if you like. And because I have so many tanks that I can take clippings from, all these plants look like what they would do after a few months in a tank. But you're not going to get that, are you? The majority of people aren't going to be able to do that. So what I would suggest is buy, you know, your free pots of your feature plants or your Java ferns that really give it that impact. Buy a couple of pots of the rest, and that's it. Budget dependent, of course, if you want to go for this full look. But if you just get a couple of the stem pots and plant them in, they're going to grow. You can trim them and then replant them, and within like a month or two,
maybe 3, you're going to be as full as this as well. And that is obviously the best, most economical way of doing it. But if you really do want to invest and get that high, big impact, then just buy a ton of plants straight away. If you've got one tank, put a big budget back for the plants. Just always make sure the plants are what make it. And also the hardscape, I made sure, because it's quite a tall aquarium, I made sure the hardscape went high, which allows the plants to go high as well. Because if I had all of this set at like this height here, because I didn't build up that background, you'd have half a dark and half like planted with hardscape. It just wouldn't look right. Whereas now we've got that full sort of concave composition. And yeah, give it a day and this is going to be crystal clear and looking great, ready for the fish. So I was thinking that it was going to take a day to clear, but it's cleared already. I added in this other filter. It's got just like real fine filter floss. It's picked up all that tiny little bit of dust that was caught up in the water column. Now that's out, it won't show up again, so everything, I can take this out and it'll be perfect. Well, I say perfect, there's always a little bit that gets thrown back in when you take out any filter, but guess what? We can now add our fish. So this tank is being broken down soon. It's the biggest tank that I've got, and I'm gonna be using it for a really cool discus setup. But I have really enjoyed having the Betta Sorority. There's some absolutely stunning girls in here. I'm gonna pick a group of them and some of the neons as well, and then that way I've still got, you know, I can carry on having a Betta Sorority. I really do like having them. I've shown that it works. You just need a really dense tank like this and like the new one. This is the absolute sort of alpha female, the best looking. So stunning, isn't it? Definitely picking that one. So before we put the fish in, I just want to switch over the light to the lidded light, you know, the one that actually comes with the kit, and just compare how the coloration changes, or if it changes at all, if it's bright enough. I think it will be. It seemed pretty bright when we had it on there before. Right, how's it looking? Oh my goodness. That is absolutely stunning. The reds are popping like crazy. I guess it's because that additional LED that was put in has the reds and blues in the strip, and it's really making the greens and the reds pop. It looks so good, absolutely gorgeous. Which means we can now collect up our fish and put them in. So I've collected up all the fish I want. I've got about 20 of the female bettas, and I've got a big group of neons and a few cardinals. There's a couple of embers in there as well. But before I put those in, we need some kind of cleanup crew. And I want to go for snails, and luckily, I've got a tank that's absolutely full of them. When I break this tank down again, I'll make sure that I take some of the cleanup crew from here and switch it across, but it's not quite ready for it yet because there's nothing in there for the cleanup crew to eat. So we'll save that to when I do it. There's still loads of girls in here as well. But yeah, that's all to come. So I've got a group of like 20 ramshorn snails here. Now they will all sort of breed and increase in population numbers. I think that snails are absolutely key to a planted tank personally. A lot of people try and get them out, but they just do such a good job of mulching up all that grime and letting it go into that substrate system, which eventually is what it will do, work its way in, and all the roots will just use that as food. If you don't overfeed your tank, the population stabilizes and it just sticks to a certain sort of level. That's what I've always found anyway. So first of all, guys, in goes the neon tetra. Now I'm expecting their colors to really pop because of those blue and red LEDs, obviously being blue and red themselves. That should make them sort of glow. We've got a good little bunch here. I'm gonna put these in first and then the bettas afterwards, just to get them, you know, a little bit more chilled out first. But oh my goodness, they look so good in there. Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be that popping, but yeah, brilliant. So the neons are out in it open a bit more. Colors looking really good, they've settled. So let's put these girls in. We've got a really, really good bunch here. I'll pick the absolute beauties out. Now they might go and hide straight away to start with, because obviously it's quite stressful and weird for them, but hopefully we see them in a sec. And now they're out, look, loads of them everywhere. Oh, it looks so good. Now you might be noticing that there's some stress stripes on some of them. That's what people have been calling it, stress stripes. Now remember, these are juvenile females. They're not like adults yet. Well, actually a couple of them I think are, but the main one, the really, really beautiful sort of alpha female, she's definitely adult. She's a lot bigger than the rest. Even she's showing a few signs of some stress stripes though, which she didn't show at all in the other tank. So obviously they're going to be stressed, they just move, but that should calm down in a minute. Some of them it won't though. Some of them just have stripes at this age, or it's their pattern, that kind of thing. But none of them are normally as pronounced as you're seeing at the moment. So yeah, once they chilled out, they're going to be absolutely fine. Like I say, there's absolutely tons of places for them to like break line of sight and get their own little territories in this tank.
I think 20 is a really good number for it. You don't want to go too low in your stocking numbers because that can actually lead to more bullying than when you kind of overstock. Similar with cichlids, you know, like Malawi cichlids, keep a big group together and the sort of fighting is dispersed between them all and it's minimal. So now that the fish in, we need to add in some beneficial bacteria. Now's a good time to do it because the fish are producing waste and that beneficial bacteria actually needs that waste to sort of colonize, multiply and grow. So I've got 2 caps to put in here. Now the bacteria will actually get picked up by the filter and colonize that ceramic media as well. Not just that, it'll also go right into the substrate system, which is huge in here. So there's tons and tons of filtration, also the plants as well. So it has now been an hour and look at this. Look at this little collection right in that sort of concave area that I was hoping for. But can I just take a second just to say well done, Superfish. There's a reason I love this company, and it's because they're making stuff like this affordable for the masses. Now, don't get me wrong, a fish tank is always going to be a luxury item, but at this price entry point, like, you can't go wrong, can you? Look at this, it looks like a TV. It doesn't even look like a fish tank because of that sort of framing, but the top is very neat. It's all very well built as well. So yeah, really impressed. Well done, Superfish. Now obviously the cost goes right up when you want to do what I've done inside in terms of design, but that's because I'm impatient and I want to get that finished look straight away. Does not mean you have to do that. You can start smaller and just grow with the tank and with the fish. But that said, I am really happy with the final result.